Hello, my name is Roshan Narayan, and thank you for joining us on In20. If you're watching us on YouTube, do
that back forward and protect and pass the ball very, very simply. He is brilliant. If you put legs.
Hello and welcome to In20. If you're watching us on the Rakyat post on Facebook, thank you very much. And if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. As you can see, I'm joined by my buddy, Danny Mills. Danny, I don't know what it is at 2020. A lot has happened, but in terms of football, I lost my hero, Diego Maradona. I'm not going to get into his personal life, but footballing-wise, he's the one who made me watch football. Paolo Rossi and now Gerard Houllier. This is ridiculous. I mean, not ridiculous. It's just heartbreaking to see some of your heroes, part ways with the entity that made you happy over the weekends or during international competitions. For you, I have to ask you, what was the impact Gerard Houllier had for European football?
I think it's just very, very sad, isn't it? And a lot of these people that you've mentioned, we've lost too soon. I think when you expect people getting into their late 80s and, you know that they are in the twilight of life. But when you're losing people in their 60s and early 70s, it's a real shame. But I think Gerard Houllier in particular, I was listening to something this morning. Danny Murphy, that obviously played under him at Liverpool, said that, he was the worst footballer on the planet. It was two left feet. He would try and join in training. He would try and ping a ball from one side to the other. And it was like he'd never kicked a ball in his life. He didn't have that background of being a fantastic player. But I think what he did bring was a different way of looking at things, a little bit like Arsene Wenger did, and going through the coaching side of the game, the analytical side of the game, looking at it from a different perspective, looking at it as a whole, not just, well, you can only be a good coach if you've been a good player. Let's look at how you become a better player. Let's look at the tactics. Let's look at all these types of things. And also you have to remember that Gerard Houllier was a huge part of Clairefontaine, the French academy that obviously proved unbelievably successful to go on and win the World Cup, the Euros, and then the World Cup again. And I think that's incredible for a man that, as I said, wasn't a fabulous footballer in any way, shape or form. For somebody to have that great an impact on the game is just sensational.
And what he did with Liverpool during those trying times, and I say trying times because maybe, a couple of years they were in contention from the Premier League. But apart from that, it was him that created the difference for them to be successful, be it in Europe or domestically in the cup competition.
Yeah, and listening to a lot of the tributes here in England this morning, on television and radio and internet forums, whatever it might be, a lot of people have said Gerard Houllier put in place the foundations, the structure, the building blocks for the Liverpool that are today, because he'd had that experience, obviously, in France and Clairefontaine and setting up from the very, very bottom, sorting out the academy, sorting out the medical staff, sorting out the whole structure of the football club. And of course, he did very, very well at Liverpool, but of course, then times move on. Yep. But I think a lot of people credit him with putting those cornerstones, those foundations in place at Liverpool, and have said, Liverpool wouldn't be in the position they were today had it not have been for Gerard Houllier.
Well put, my friend. I remember these times, watching it as a football fan. I don't want to bring up a horrible moment for you against Thierry Henry at Highbury, corner flag. Let's not get into that.
but you're going to anyhow.
I've done it already, so let's move on. Patrice Evra has come out and said that Thierry Henry, we don't know how true this is, but according to Patrice Evra, Thierry Henry would switch off the TV when he saw Granit Xhaka. I mean, that is an unbelievable statement to make when you have a club legend look at your former club and go like, off.
Yeah, it's very, very damning, isn't it? What he said. He wasn't in his panda suit at the time, I have to say. He was in a normal suit, so you maybe have to take him a little bit more seriously. I've looked at it, and the first foul is it's a foul from Xhaka. He's mistimed it. He's maybe trying to stop the counter attack, and he brings it down. It's a booking, and then it all goes off a little bit. You can't. Well, I was going to say, it was handbags, but you can't say that anymore. Apparently, that's politically incorrect now. That's no longer acceptable to say that. But in all fairness to Xhaka, Westwood comes in and sort of pushes him, trips him up, and pushes him to the ground. He then gets up and, I mean, they grab each other.
He dived.
But that's it. It's like, is that really violent conduct? I mean, do we really want people sending off for that? And bearing in mind, Westwood started it. Westwood wasn't the player that was fouled in the first place. So I do have a little bit of sympathy. You know, you have to say that if Xhaka is sent off for a straight red for violent conduct, why is Westwood not sent off for violent conduct for pushing somebody over? The force is the force that Xhaka grabs Westwood is probably less than the force that was needed to push him over. I just, I think we are going where I watched the game the other night, Everton-Chelsea, and the referee allowed the play to go, and it was superb. There was tackles. I don't think
football.
There was a booking.
You mean football? Actual football?
Yeah, I don't think there was a booking in the first half, and it was great to watch. And he was consistent, and it was the same for both sides. And it was a real traditional football match. Combative tackles going in, people making contact with each other. Xhaka, I think, has always divided opinion. He's been better.
Why would you rate him? Let's take away Patrick Vieira and Roy Keane. Let's be realistic. Why would you rate Granit Xhaka in terms of midfielders that have played in the Premier League?
I mean, he's okay, isn't he? He does what he does. But then you look ahead and you say, well, was Danny Drinkwater exceptional? When they won the title at Leicester? Not really. Wes Morgan, Robert Huth, they won the Premier League, but they weren't incredible. They're not, they don't go down as Premier League legends. Arsenal are a top 8 side. Is he a top 8 player? Probably. Round about that. He's obviously got a lot of experience. He's played international level. He's had some good games. He's been better, I think, since maybe Arteta has come in and got hold of him. But it's one of those. Every time he makes a mistake, it's going to be called up and dragged up from the past. I played with David James, was similar. Obviously got the nickname Calamity James at Liverpool. And then every mistake after, whether it was a month or 10 years after, Calamity James still came up. And that's the problem. You do get labelled, and once you have that label, it's very, very difficult to shake it off. Xhaka could now have 12, 15 unbelievable performances, but he makes one more mistake and the same questions will be asked. And that's difficult at times.
Are we, the media, blowing things out of proportion when it comes to Arsenal? Yes, I know where they are.
Having said that, Arsenal are rubbish. So, that's the other side of it, isn't it? I mean, they've just not been good enough. That's Aubameyang's first goal for how long? It's the wrong end. I think Arsenal.
How do you solve it? How do you solve that situation? Which is
15th. Arsenal are 15th in the league. They're below Leeds at the moment. Who've had a really bad run of form. Started fantastic in a bad, but you'd expect Leeds to finish 14th, 15th. In the Premier League. You don't expect Arsenal to finish in the bottom half. With the players that they've got. I don't know how you solve it. Everyone goes on about Mick Arteta too is magnificent, and I've said for many times on here, he's done okay, but the team isn't wildly different or wildly better than it has been previously. So I just look at it and think, well, yeah, it's minor improvements, but it's not dramatic. I think winning the FA Cup last year paved over a lot of cracks, and they get away with that. Aubameyang signs a new deal, but now he can't score a goal at the right end of the pitch. So, it's tough for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal at the moment.
We're an independent station, so is Arsenal Fan TV. And I heard something that was, a bit eye-opening, but I can't remember for the life of me one of the names, but they came out and said that, listen, we were better under Arsene Wenger, even though we weren't playing that great, we were always in the Champions League. And now you're looking at this team 15th in the table in the Premier League. Is this team that different from Arsene Wenger and the squad he left behind? Or tactically, it's just a team that's trying to get used to a new manager applying his trade?
It's not. I think when you go back to Arsene Wenger, he did have some quality players, within that squad, and he managed to sort of refresh it all the time. Maybe they were on the wane a little bit, at that time that they'd gone from sort of, top 1, top 2, top 3, top 4, and slipped out of that. and they've continued on that slide. They haven't been able to address that situation. It's been very, very difficult for them to do that. You look at the players, recruitment over the last several years, defence hasn't been good enough, but now they're starting to get to that point where that's a little bit better. I just look at the midfield. When you lose, Arsene Wenger had the likes of Aaron Ramsey in there. Jack Wilshere playing well. They had some Ozil. When he first came into the club, quality players that were playing well at the time. With fantastic ability. I would say now that the squad on a whole is weaker at Arsenal than what it used to be.
In case of emergency break glass, that's an tried and tested terminology. Is it time to break the glass and let Ozil out? Finally, at least he can try and change something, or
well, they can't, can they? They've got to wait until January, so they've got to wait.
January is just 3 weeks away, or less than 3 weeks away.
Well, but that could be 5 games. With all the with all the fixture congestion that's around, at the moment.
Will he make a difference?
I think without a doubt, if he's fit and his attitude is good, how can he not make a difference? How can you not want to bring him on for the last 10, 15 minutes of a game? He's got outstanding quality. He's fabulous, even if it's delivery from set pieces. It could
There's
be him
something there.
Well, it could be him. It could be him whipping one in for Aubameyang at the right end, rather at the wrong end, and flicking it into the far corner. If I'm playing with a player of that quality, and I'm getting into the final third, and I see Ozil in space, I just give him the ball, because he's likely to do something with it. He's going to do a lot more than I'm going to do. When you look at Xhaka, if Xhaka gives Ozil the ball, who's going to create you a chance, Ozil or Xhaka? That's what it comes. Bukayo Saka's doing very, very well, but he's very, very young. If you get Ozil in that final third on the ball, and allowing that little bit of freedom, he's going to create chances for you. And that's what Arsenal need, because they're just not scoring enough goals at the moment.
Okay, that's Arteta. We have been honest with him. How have the media in England, and I find this very shocking, stayed away from slaughtering Pep Guardiola? Look at their team in the Premier League. Yes, I know it's early days and things can change overnight, but let's be honest, it's not a great start. So when will the media finally go and say, we need to look at Pep and he's not doing much?
I think at the moment, because they've still got that game in hand, and if they were to win that would take them up to 22 points, would almost take them into the top 4. They'd be in the top 5, and only one win away from the top of the table. If they were not to win that game in hand, and then suddenly, they're 5 points off the top at this stage, people will ask more questions. People are asking questions at the moment. They are discussing the Aguero situation. Why are suddenly, what's happened to Bernardo Silva? Where's the sort of performances that we've seen? Raheem Sterling. They're not scoring goals. Last year,
are teams tired? Are the players tired mentally more than physically? Because it's non-stop. Literally, if you look at it,
they shouldn't be. I don't think, because Liverpool, I would say yes, because for 3 seasons they've been at the very, very top. Manchester City did that for 2 years, and then last season they had a bit of a break, and they weren't good enough last season. They weren't. Simple. If they'd have been good enough, they'd have won the league. End of. So they had they had that mental break now, and now they're no longer champions. There's no longer that sort of pressure on them, week in, week out. So they should be revitalised. And Pep said at the start of the season, we're ready to go again. We are revitalised. We are refreshed. We've got our hunger back. We want this title. Now it's only December, and we're only 11, 12 games into the season, and there is a chance. But at the moment, City just do not look like they are going to go on that sort of run. Laporte is still in the stands. Not quite sure what that's all about at the moment. John Stones has come back in and done okay and done pretty well. But everyone was thinking, well, Aymeric Laporte, that's going to be
the fix.
Yeah. When he comes back, that sorts out City's defence. But I think just attacking-wise, but they haven't managed to work out that midfield area yet. They haven't got the right balance.
I still find it hard when you said that Man City have a problem at attack. You look at the players they have. I mean, maybe perhaps apart from Fernandinho, everyone's still quite prim and young.
Fernandinho is one of the most key players in their squad because I think he's still got a lot to offer. He's the driving force in that midfield. He's the one that grabs people by the scruff of the neck and says, right, come on, we're going to go and close down. We're going to defend. We're going to do this. He's box to box still. He's putting in tackles. He's trying to, he's the engine room in that midfield. But last season, City were top scorers, but they missed an awful lot of chances. I remember I was at the Watford game live, 8-0. It should have really been 15-0. And I think even the goalkeeper afterwards said, I was lucky that I didn't concede 12, 13, 14 because they missed a lot of chances. And that was their problem last year. They weren't clinical enough. And that sounds weird because they scored more goals than anybody else, but they could have easily scored a lot more. They've taken that sort of form into this season, but they're not scoring either. And that's a real problem. And, Jesus, as good as he is, Brazil's number 9 at times, he's just no Aguero. And Aguero, with his injuries and lack of fitness at the moment, it's a real problem for City.
It's funny how a few years ago Pep said he was on his way elsewhere and he's remained there. Is it time to finally, don't shoot me, Danny, but is it finally time to acknowledge Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the enormous responsibility he's had to the club and how he's defined this entire situation, just not with Pogba, but with the players, whoever's brought these players in, and him steadying the ship. Now, we've criticized him, and tactically that Luke Shaw being deployed in Europe, that's a question, can always be answered. Managers, the best managers in the world, get something wrong at times, but come on. He hasn't done something good?
No, he's done okay. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, my biggest issue, and I've said many times about him not being a fantastic leader, but when you talk about the players and they've had good performances, they are in big games. They are big game players. When they need a big game against the PSG or against the Manchester City or against the Liverpool, they perform. Now, we can all do that because, you're up for it. The adrenaline's flowing. You want to impress. You're live across the world to millions and millions, billions of viewers.
Real Madrid is watching you.
Yeah, of course it is, whatever it might be. When you're playing Sheffield United or Fulham or West Brom or, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, and it's not quite the same limelight, it's not quite the same spectacle, they're not performing. And that has to come down to the manager. He sets the tone for all those players. We had Olivier Dacour at Leeds, was unbelievable in the Champions League, was incredible against the top 6 clubs. But when you started playing against the bottom 6 clubs, he went missing because he wasn't interested. Whether he felt he was better than that or what it was, but he did not perform as he did against those. He was a big game player. And some players are like that. But you can't have 8 or 9 players in the Manchester United squad like that. The manager has to demand more from them.
Why doesn't he just take a risk with Van de Beek playing a bit more deeper? Won't that you've tried everything humanly known possible, the different kind of setups and players here and there. Why didn't he just deploy him? I told you I've watched him play a bit deeper for Ajax, not all the time, but why does he just try it?
I think
everything he's tried doesn't seem to work.
Because he's not. I don't think he's not a tackler. I'm not sure he's going to be disciplined enough in that role. But he could play that role if you're dominating possession, and if you've got 60, 70% possession and you're not really getting attacked, it's not a problem. But I looked at the performance the other night from Alan. You compare that to N'Golo Conte as well, the sort of roles that they play. Fernandinho breaking things up, getting around the pitch. Højbjerg at Tottenham. You need one of those holding midfield players. And that's not Donny van der Beek. That's not his strength. So again, it's balance. So you bring Pogba in and he has a decent game against Manchester City, but he's not doing it every single week. And that's a mentality issue, and that has to be controlled by the manager.
I will promise you this, Danny. If he's been given a chance to play a bit more deeper, he will prove me right. He will prove everybody wrong. Trust me on this. It's all I've been doing this for the past 15 years. But any shocks or surprises before we let you go? A quick one from this past weekend. That is nothing.
Oh, no, just not overly disappointed that Sheffield United, being from South Yorkshire, just below Leeds, are still bottom of the table. I got all sorts of grief last season when I said at the start of the season, I think Sheffield United might struggle. Of course, they went on this fantastic run, and because it's a Leeds Yorkshire thing, yeah. I got absolute pelters every time. Every time they won, they kept throwing at me. You've never seen us play. You've not seen our underlapping centre halves and wing backs, and we're a great side, and this, that, and the other. Well, second season syndrome.
Danny, what you just played football for about 20 plus years. That's it, and you just played at this World Cup.
I was just a year. I was just a year out on my prediction. That's all it was. You know what
I mean? It has been an absolute pleasure, Mr. Mills. I shall talk to you next week on Sunday. Out and about anywhere? On your bed cave?
Next Sunday? I think I might be. I'm at Man City and Anfield this week, and yes, I think I'm somewhere, but I'll have to check the diary, see where I am.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, my friend. And if you've been watching, no matter where you have been watching around the globe, thank you so much. Hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thank you for watching us on the Rakyat Post on our Facebook page. But once again, on behalf of everybody here on the team, our condolences and love to the Gerard Hourier family. Till the next time, take care.